gripes that are out there is that, yeah, it's about vampires and werewolves and witches and ghosts, but it's really about people with serious handicaps trying to be human or trying to have a human experience. So, you know, I don't even necessarily see it so much as a supernatural show as much as it's a show about being human.
Yeah.
I always love shows that, you know, it's in the arena of supernatural, but it's about, you know, Charlaine mentioned tolerance. It's a big one. And I think that, you know, my favorite shows are these shows because you can deal with such great issues and just the problems of being human and having 8 billion people on this spaceship we call Earth, and how do we live together, and there's so many analogies that can be drawn. You know, I wasn't familiar with the graphic novel Watchmen, and I saw the movie, I rented it thinking, this is gonna suck, but I don't see anything else at Blockbuster. Your mind goes blank when you go in there. And so I took this thing home and was really floored by it, because again, it deals so beautifully, and that's what Alan does so well. And everything that he writes, you know, American Beauty, and Charlaine with creating this concept of the supernatural world is so much fun, and it's such eye candy. It just happens. My arm just did that on its own. Yeah, that too. Yes, boys. But you know, it's deeper than that, and the writing. This speech that Denis did after he ripped the spine out was a perfect example, because you have this incredible action with that incredibly poignant speech. So it's great.
Can I say something real quick about that speech that he gave? Is Stephen Moyer went to Washington, D.C. in the springtime and spoke with an aide or a secretary to President Obama that said last summer, on a Monday night, they all gathered up in the Oval Office, and our president walked in and said, "Did anybody see True Blood last night?" And that they discussed his speech and its relevance to this world we live in for half an hour in the Oval Office of the White House.
One of the things that's really, I think, very realistic about the show is the accents. You don't all do that stereotypical Southern accent that so many actors do. How did you develop more realistic Southern accents?
I have no accent. I'm kind of from everywhere. I was born in Kansas City, and then raised in Detroit, and lived in Chicago, and now I've been in New York for 19 years. So I kind of gravitate to whoever's around me is talking and go to their accent. But there's a great dialect coach named Tim Monick, who I met years ago, and I hired him. And I asked True Blood to pay for him for 2 sessions, and I paid for 2 more, because I wanted the accent to be specific and authentic. And we actually based the accent on an individual, a little bit on Haley Barbour, but somebody else, who was a old-fashioned upper crust Mississippi accent. Very, very specific accent. I listened to tapes and tapes and tapes, and I would just play it over and over and over in my trailer, because a bad accent takes you out. And a specific accent, a bad accent's like a child that gets taken away. we'll wait till but you know, and a good accent actually lends that texture that feels like reality. And also, a good accent is an homage to the people you're trying to portray. If you're doing a good job, it's a compliment. If you're doing a bad job, it's an insult. So I think it's so important to do it well.
I mean, that's the amazing thing about Denis. When he came on the show, I was like, okay, the bar has been raised. He was talking about his accent and how old he is and how he felt his character was illiterate, and I'm thinking, ooh, I need to do some homework. And then sort of after a while, it was my turn to speak, and I was like, I'm hungry. Do you want to get some craft service? You know?
You're fantastic.
Well, I do, and you know, my whole game was like the same exact thought that you had, but I thought I'm just going to do it really subtle so I can't get busted as
You speak in Swedish on yours.
Oh yeah, that's a whole story.
Talk about your Swedish.
Oh my God, the terror of Swedish. It just, the script comes and it'll say the line in English, but in parentheses will say, will be in Swedish. And that's all the help I get. And then I just start panicking, and I call Skarsgård, did you see it? And he goes, yes. And I say, okay, send it over. Say it slow, then say it fast. And he goes, I know. And then it arrives in my email, and this world of Mac, I click on it, and then it's in iTunes, and then it's on my iPod. And I just play it over and over and over, and hope that I'm saying something intelligible. And never know. And on the day, I'll say, okay, don't laugh. And he goes, okay. And then he laughs at me. But never keeps that bargain. But he will, help me and adjust it. But one day I was like, God, why am I so nervous? You're the only person here who's going to know if I'm, what I'm saying. And he goes, and 9 million sweets.
I feel like, what Dennis said, that key word about being specific with that is, raise your hand if you're from the South. Now, it'd be silly to say there's such a thing as a Southern accent, because I've sat at a table and people come through, and if you're from one part of Tennessee versus the next, or one, Robert Duvall's a friend of mine, and he has a buddy, Bob Easter, the linguist and dialect coach, who spent some time researching and said that there are over 200 distinguishable accents in this one part of the Shenandoah Valley. So I think lazy actors and acting book-reading crooks make their Southern accent tape and sell it to people. But what he's talking about being specific is, and what they're saying, I think, is you find a person or a kind of person. And I grew up in Texas, but for some reason sound like I'm from Brooklyn. But my little cousin Sam is this kind of the basis for Hoyt in a lot of ways, at least where he started. And he kind of sounds like that. And, just kind of felt right. I don't know, it kind of felt right. So, yeah.
I was fortunate that I didn't say what I was fortunate for. You're gonna fill in that blank?
Oh yeah.
Go Steelers! Yeah, I'm from Pittsburgh. I'm not from the South, right? There's a very distinct accent from Pittsburgh, which my parents are from Boston, so one of my first words was "car" to describe the thing you drive in. But Pittsburgh, they don't say y'all, they say yins. Yins gone downtown and that, and I'm going to watch the Steeler game up in Washington County, so it's very specific. But I was lucky. I went to Carnegie Mellon University. In the first 2 years, they drill you on this phonetic alphabet to the point where they won't let you write in normal English. You have to write in sound symbols, and the whole idea is to train your ear to be able to hear sound changes in foreign languages and be able to pick things up quicker. And so when I got cast on True Blood, and we decided, well, according to the show, Alcide was from Jackson. Now I know in the books he was living in Shreveport, or his father had a company in Shreveport. But for the sake of having all the werewolves be uniform in season 3, he's from Jackson. And so I met with the dialect coach, and I recognized her last name. And I heard her say a word, and I said, "Where are you from?" And she said, "I'm from Pittsburgh." And I said, "Did you teach in Pittsburgh?" She said, "Yeah, I was the head of the speech department at Carnegie Mellon University." And I went, "Are you kidding me?" And she, all the books, all of her technique was what I was taught. It was the whole system that I was taught. So it was really easy.